माननीय सभासदों, माननीय अध्यक्ष,
Honorable members, I cordially welcome you all to this session of Youth Parliament. I hope this session will be a very fruitful one as we sit out to deliberate important matters that concerning the nation. Today's first business is the oath taking. New members to take the oath or affirmation. Secretary General, please.
Mr. Jones, who stands elected from the Kottayam constituency of Kerala, will now take oath or affirmation. Sir, do you want to take oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
Which language would you prefer?
In English, please.
I, Johns George Roy, having been elected a member of the lower house of the Youth Parliament, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, and that I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
Now Mr. Dion, who stands elected from the Idukki constituency of Kerala, will take the oath or affirmation. Sir, do you want to take oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
Which language would you prefer?
ഡിയോൺ ബോബിയായ ഞാൻ നിയമം വഴി സ്ഥാപിതമായ ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ ഭരണഘടനയോട് നിർവ്യാജമായ വിശ്വസ്തയും കൂറും പുലർത്തുമെന്നും ഞാൻ ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ പരമാധികാരവും അഖണ്ഡതയും നിലനിർത്തുമെന്നും ഞാൻ യൂത്ത് പാർലമെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ അധോസഭയിലെ അംഗമെന്ന നിലയിലുള്ള എൻ്റെ കർത്തവ്യങ്ങൾ വിശ്വസ്തയോടെ ചെയ്യുമെന്നും ദൈവനാമത്തിൽ പ്രതിജ്ഞ ചെയ്യുന്നു.
Honorable members, today the entire country is celebrating the 80th anniversary of Quit India movement, which was launched under the leadership of Father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, on 9th August 1942, who delivered an exhilarating do or die Quit India speech at the Gwali Tank Maidan in Mumbai. It played a crucial role in unifying the entire nation in one renewed spirit of waging struggle for freedom and enhancing public moral and anti-British sentiment, which leads India's eventful independence. Today, we being in the 75th year of our independence, are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Let us take to resolve to continue to work for the country, keeping the sacrifices made by our freedom fighters in active memory and stay committed to upholding their high ideals. On this occasion, we pay our tribute to all the martyrs who laid down their lives in the struggle for freedom. Honorable members, as we meet today, it is my sad duty to inform you the House of the demise of our former colleague, Sri Talal Kunal Bashir, who was a member from the Eastwhile Chirengida Lok Sabha constituency. Sri Talal Kunal Bashir was an effective social worker. He worked in the rural areas, devoting his time and energy to the welfare of agricultural laborers and the upliftment of backward classes and the downtrodden. He was an able parliamentarian and an effective orator. He took keen interest in the proceedings of the House. He passed away at Trivandrum on 25th March 2022 at the age of 77. So, on the behalf of the House, I would like to extend my heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family.
Madam, I rise to pay my tributes to Sri Talekunil Bashir, whose death has been deeply mourned by all. During his long and illustrious public life, spanning over a period of 3 decades, Sri Bashir served the people with commitment and zeal in various capacities. He worked for the welfare of the downtrodden and farmers. I would like to extend my deep condolences to this family.
Opposition leader, please.
Madam Speaker, I associate myself and by the tributes paid by you and the leader of the House. Sri Talekunil Bashir was a close friend of mine and a confidant. His lovable nature and charm and wit always left an impression on everyone he met. A good human being first and an excellent public leader second, he will always be remembered. I would like to associate myself and the members of my party in extending my thoughts and prayers to the beloved family.
The House may stand in silence for a while to express our deep sorrow. Secretary General may convey the message of condolences to the bereaved family.
Yes, ma'am.
Honorable members, I am immensely pleased to inform you that the Indian contingent has so far performed extremely well in the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. As per the latest medals tally, India has created history by notching impressive wins with 18 gold medals, 15 silver medals and 15 bronze medals, leading to a total of 55 medals as of now. I, on my own behalf and on the behalf of the entire House, extend my heartiest congratulations to all the medal winners. I also wish all other sportspersons all the best for their outstanding performances in the upcoming events. We believe that The success of our sports persons will inspire and encourage all the youth, especially the youth sports personalities of the country, to excel and extend their championship lead. Now, the introduction of new ministers. Prime Minister, please.
Madam Speaker, I have pleasure in introducing you and through you to the House, my colleagues, the new ministers. Sri Muhammad Mirsad, Minister of Shipping. Srimati Jawan Jacob, Minister of Civil Supplies.
Now, the quiz now begins. Quiz number 101, Sri Lishan.
Honorable Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister of External Affairs regarding the violent military occupation of the Russian military forces in Ukraine. I request the Honorable Minister to clarify to the House what is India's position on this issue and how it will affect our relationship with Russia.
Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, please.
Madam Speaker, I would like to clarify to the House through you that our position with regards to this conflict is that we are for peace. Recently, when the Prime Minister met with President Putin, they engaged in a larger conversation about the different approaches they could take to end hostilities in the region and return to diplomacy and dialogue. Madam Speaker, through you, I remind the members of this House that India was the first country to evacuate its citizens and undoubtedly served as an inspiration to other nations across the world. As a peace-loving country, India encourages talks between Ukraine and Russia, including and especially at the level of their presidents, and if we can provide any assistance for that matter, we will gladly contribute. As of now, our approach with regards to this conflict is to promote dialogue to end it. In case of our relationship with Russia, as you know, Russia is a critical economic partner of our country, and after these deliberations, we hope that they will remain the same in the future as well. Indian foreign policy decisions are always guided by Indian national interest. So I assure the members of this august House that there is no question of linking the Ukraine situation to any other economic relations.
Quiz number 102, Srimati Teresa.
Will the Minister of Sports, Shipping and Waterways be pleased to state? First question, whether the government has identified potential marine oil spill spot off the coast of Kerala. If so, the details thereof, and if not, the reasons therefore. Has the government identified spots for fishing off the coast of Kerala which remain vulnerable to the potential oil spills? If so, the details thereof, and if not, the reasons therefore. Next question, whether the government has the record of marine oil spills greater than 100 litre by volume of oil spilled and the total volume of sludge recovered off the coast of Kerala within the territorial waters. If so, the details therefore, and if not, the reasons therefore. Whether the government has invested in technological advancements for improving recovery of oil spills. If so, the details thereof, and if not, the reasons therefore.
Honorable Minister of Ports and Shipping, please.
On answering first three questions, no madam. Potential marine oil spills and spots for fishing off the coast of Kerala vulnerable to potential oil spills cannot be identified as accidents, cannot be predicted. On answering the fourth question, the record of marine oil spills greater than 100 liters off the coast of Kerala within the territorial water is maintained by Indian Coast Guard. Has reported that no such incident happened in the last 15 years. On answering the last question, steps taken by government for technological advancement for improving recovery of oil spills. Pollution response teams established by Indian Coast Guard at Mumbai, Chennai, Port Blair and Vadinar to deal with any potential marine oil spills incident along the entire coastline of India. PRTS halt pollution response PR equipment such as different types of booms, skimmers, barges, dragons, etc. to respond any pollution incident area of responsibility and also for subsequent recovery of spilled oil. They also impact PR training personnel of ICG, ports, oil handling agencies and coastal states. ICG has commissioned 3 dedicated pollution response vessels to deal with any potential marine oil spills incident along the entire coastline of India. The vessels are equipped with recovery equipment like boomers, skimmers, etc.
Srimati Teresa.
Sir, I have been hearing very carefully the response of the Honorable Minister, and I think it's not entirely accurate to say that we cannot predict accidents and we cannot identify danger areas because in Kerala we have on the coast the Virinjam port, Kochi port and of course the new Mangalore port which is just north of us and it can also impact us. So I will therefore request the Honorable Minister to take proactive steps in cooperation with the state government and identify the suitable areas and prevent this from happening in future.
Madam Speaker, our respected member has highlighted a very sensitive issue. In my statement, you might have noticed that there is a mention that is confined to the shoreline. The government will take proactive steps in near future. As you know, National Disaster Contingency Plan provide for consultation with all the stakeholders. So, we have to work with integration and integrated effort need to be put so that pollution does not occur.
Next question. Question number 103. Sri Jones.
Will the Minister of Home Affairs be pleased to state? The first question, whether it is true or not that Andhra Pradesh is one of the performing states under modernization of police force scheme during the last few years. The second question, whether it is true that government grants incentives to better performing states under this scheme. If so, the details of better performing incentives released to Andhra Pradesh during its better performing years. And the last question, the details of funds allocated for MPFS during year 2021-22 and 2022-23 state-wise including Andhra Pradesh.
Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, please.
On answering the first question, under the scheme of Assistance to State for Modernization of Police, which was earlier known as Modernization of State Police Force Scheme during the financial year 2018-19 and 19-20, Andhra Pradesh was one of the states which has no unspent balance out of the central releases. On answering the second and third question, the Government of India granted incentives to better performing state under the scheme till the year 2019-20. These incentives were granted to better performing states out of the unreleased pool funds. However, since 2020-21, this incentive could not release a substantial unspent balance remaining within the states, including Andhra Pradesh. Better performing incentives of rupees 14.81 crore and 14.92 crore were released to Government of Andhra Pradesh, respectively. On answering the last question, state-wise details of allocated under the scheme during the financial year 2021-22 and 22-23 are the annexure.
Next question. Question number 104. Sri Alan. Honorable member is absent. Next question. Question number 105. Srimati Mansi.
Will the Minister of Tourism be pleased to state the programs which are implemented being to train the manpower of the tourism and hospitality sector, particularly for informal service providers. The details of training program conducted under the capacity building for service providers in Kerala, including in Wayanad parliamentary constituency. Whether the programs are being implemented to train local community to lead based tourism initiatives. If so, the details thereof. Whether the government proposes to develop any tourism circuits in Wayanad parliamentary constituency, and if so, the details thereof.
Honorable Minister of Tourism, please.
Madam Speaker, to the reply of the first and second question, Ministry of Tourism conducts various short-term skill development training programs with the aim to provide education, training and certification to the tourist service providers through its empaneled implementing agencies in the tourism and hospitality sectors. The following skilling, reskilling and upskilling programs are conducted under the scheme of capacity building for service providers in the state of Kerala and Wayanad parliamentary constituency. Hunar Seras Sagartak. The program presently offers a total of 11 short-term duration courses in hospitality and tourist sectors. Incredible India Facilitator course. The Ministry of Tourism conducts online the IITFC course, Basics, Advances, Spoken Languages and Refresh courses are taught. So far, a total of 3,795 candidates have been successfully certified. Tourism awareness or sensitization programs for existing service providers are also conducted under this scheme. And for the third and fourth question on the basis of community-based tourism initiatives, the Ministry of Tourism has initiated the destination-based skill development training program at 7 iconic states. That is Taj Mahal at Agra, Humayun Tomb, Red Fort, Qutub Minar at Delhi, Mahabodhi Temple at Bihar, Kolwa Beach at Goa, and Kasaranga at Assam in the financial year 2019-20. And for the last question on the basis of tourism circuits in Wayanad parliamentary constituency, Madam Speaker, development of tourism infrastructure is primarily the responsibility of the state and union territory government. The Ministry of Tourism, under its schemes of Swadesh Darshan, provide financial assistance to both state and union territory administrations, including the state of Kerala, for development of tourism infrastructure in the country. The project under this scheme are sanctioned subject to availability of fund, submission of suitable detailed project report, adherence to scheme guidelines and utilization of funds released earlier, etc.
Next question. Question number 106, Sri Said.
Will the Minister of Health and Family Welfare be state whether the government has approved India COVID-19 Emergency Response and Health System Preparedness Package? If so, the objective behind such a package, the detail thereof, and the fund allotted in this regards. Whether the fund as sanctioned are likely to be utilized in 3 phases. If so, the detail thereof. Whether India has one of the lowest global COVID-19 facilities rates and consequently require rate has increased. If so, the detail thereof. And the current state of COVID-19 in India, and whether NCDC has conducted surveillance during the pandemic through IDSP network, and if so, the detail thereof.
Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, please.
To answer the questions 1 through 3. All the states and union territories have been provided with necessary financial support under the India COVID-19 Emergency Response and Health System Preparedness Package. 15,000 crore rupees has been allocated for our utilization under this package in 3 phases. Phase 1 from 1st January to 30th June 2020. Phase 2 from 1st July 2020 to 31st March 2021. And Phase 3 from 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2024. To answer the 4th and 5th questions, India does have one of the lowest COVID-19 case fatality rates with high recovery rate among similarly affected countries. As of 22nd September 2020, India has reported 55,62,663 cases and 88,935 deaths due to COVID-19. Although high in absolute numbers, the cases and deaths due to COVID-19 per million population is 3,968 cases and 64 deaths respectively, which is one of the lowest compared to other similarly affected countries. The case fatality rate is 1.6% as compared to a global average of 3.1%. The recovery rate as of 22nd September 2020 is 80.86%. Lastly, the Integrated Disease Surveillance Program under National Center of Disease Control has been conducting COVID-19 surveillance right since the beginning. As of 21st September 2020, a total of 42 lakh people were kept under surveillance. Further, IDSP network has supported contact tracing for all COVID-19 positive cases.
Next question. Question number 107, Sri Thomas.
Will the Minister of Finance be pleased to state, first, whether the Ministry has received any sort of recommendations from the Ministry of Health and Welfare for sanctioning All India Institute of Medical Sciences for Kerala? If so, the details thereof, and whether the government has considered the proposal for setting up of AIIMS in Kerala. If so, the details thereof, along with the decision taken thereon.
Honorable Minister of Finance, please.
On answering to the first two questions, the Ministry of Finance had received the proposal from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare for sanctioning an All India Institute of Medical Science for Kerala. And on answering to the last two questions, AIIMS are set up under the Pradhana Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, which was implemented by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and government has approved setting up of AIIMS across the country in a phased manner.
Now, the question hour is over. No more supplementaries, please. Question hour is over. Srimati Ann.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, a serious breach of privilege has been committed by one of our ministers by using government vehicles for election campaign and for personal use. I have requested you to allow me to raise a question on this matter now.
Srimati Ann, have you given notice of it earlier? You may give due notice along with evidence, and I shall consider it. You can't spring surprise on me like this.
Madam, I have already given a due notice today at 10 a.m. itself.
It will be examined when it comes to me. I shall consider it and let you know my decision. Now, the papers to be laid. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, please.
Madam, I beg to lay on the table both Hindi and English version copies of the annual report of the India Center for Migration in New Delhi for the year 2020 to 21, along with audited accounts.
Honorable Minister of Culture.
Ma'am, I beg to lay on the table a copy of annual report, both Hindi and English versions of Indian Council for the Cultural Relations, New Delhi for the year 2020-21. I also lay on the table a copy of annual accounts, both Hindi and English versions of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, New Delhi for the year 2020-21, together with an audit report thereon. A copy of the review, both Hindi and English versions by the government of the working of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, New Delhi for the year 2020-21, and statement of both Hindi and English versions showing reasons for delay in laying the papers as mentioned at the above.
Secretary to report message from the upper chamber of Youth Parliament.
Ma'am, I have to report the following message received from the Secretary of Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament. In accordance with the provisions of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Upper House of Youth Parliament, I am directed to enclose a copy of the Election Laws Amendment Bill 2022, which has been passed by the Upper Chamber at its sitting held on 25th July 2022.
Secretary to lay on the table a copy of bill as passed by the upper chamber.
Ma'am, I lay on the table of the House a copy of the Election Laws Amendment Bill 2022 as passed by the Upper Chamber.
Honorable members, I have to make an announcement. On my own behalf and on the behalf of the honorable members of the House, I have great pleasure in extending a warm welcome to His Excellency Mr. Arthur Lira, the President of Chamber of Deputies of National Congress of Brazil, and the honorable members of Brazilian parliamentary delegation who are on a visit to India as our honored guest. The other honorable members of the delegations are Mr. Fabio Faria, Minister of Communications, Mr. Anson Torres, Minister of Social Justice, Mr. Carlos Brito, Minister of Tourism. It is a very high-powered delegation. The delegation arrived on 20th May 2022. They are now seated in the special box. We wish them a happy and fruitful stay in our country. We also convey our warm greetings and very best wishes through them, His Excellency, the President of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, Brazilian Parliament, and the Brazilian government, and the people of that great country. Now, let's take up the calling attention motion. Mr. Martin, please call the attention of Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to call the attention of the Minister of Food and Civil Supplies to the situation arising out of the reported inadequate supply of food grains to the states by the centre and the action taken by the government in this regard.
Yes, Minister, please.
Madam Speaker, the state governments and the union territories intimate the central government every month of their requirement of food grains for release through the public distribution system. The allotment of food grains to the various states and the union territories is made on a month-to-month basis by considering the stock position in the central pool, the relative needs of the various states, the market availability, and various other related factors. These are being reviewed every month and allocations are made accordingly. In this accord, I would also like to mention that the management of the food economy is a joint effort from the center and the states. The availability of stock in the central pool can be sustained and improved only by the willing procurement on the parts of the states as well as the judicious release based on the policies of the central government. So it is not merely a question of demand by the states and supply by the center, but a matter of mutual effort with regards to the food stock and the public distribution system. I would also like to mention that the food distribution system can only cater to a part of the population, particularly the vulnerable sections of society, and not the whole population.
Mr. Noble, please.
The point that I want to make is that complaints are coming in larger and larger number from states as well as from consumers. That the food grain supply by Food Corporation of India is rotten often until its human consumption. There is something rotten with the FCA itself. I would like the Food Minister to look into the matter seriously and rectify the matters, lest they should get completely out of control.
Mr. Thomas, please.
Deficit state as far as good, especially rice is concerned. The food situation in Kerala is so grave that it now threatens into the collapse of public distribution system. The monthly allocation is hardly 95,000 tons. It is extremely meager. Moreover, several states has imposed restriction on the movement of food grains. This has resulted in the arrivals of food grains in Kerala having fallen down, creating serious situation. There is failure of monsoon. The prices are rising. The government of Kerala has approached the central government for raising monthly allocations. We have been asked to switch over to cash crops in order to earn foreign exchange for the whole country. Our people have to suffer on account of this policy, and they are thinking seriously of switching back to food grains now. Our public distribution system has been acclaimed as one of the best in the country.
Honorable Minister, please.
Madam Speaker, I have listened carefully to the points made by the honorable members of the House. I have due concern for the hardship being faced by various states due to drought and failure of monsoon. It has always been the endeavor of this government to help the various states and the union territories in mitigating their sufferings. But in spite of our clear intentions, we are sometimes helpless because of certain limitations. Therefore, in view of this, I request all of the affected states to kindly bear with us in this moment of crisis. Have faith in us, and we on our part will do whatever it is that is possible for us to meet the requirements of your people. As for Kerala, Kerala has demanded more rice. Their request is under consideration. This will be decided keeping in view the stock position in the central pool as well as the demands for rice by the various states. I assure the House that we shall do whatever it is possible to meet the requirements of the people of Kerala. Once again, I would like to mention that the management of the food economy is a joint effort by both the center and the states, and that the cooperation of all of the states, both in surplus and in deficit, is necessary to maintain the stock position in the central pool so that all the vulnerable people in our population can meet their requirements for good food grains. Especially during this year, which is marked by failure of monsoon and droughts, I request the cooperation of all of the states.
Now, legislative business will be taken up. Honorable Minister of Health to move the motion for leave of the House to introduce an amendment bill to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985.
Madam, I beg to move for leave to introduce a bill to further amend the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985.
The question is that leave be granted to introduce a bill further to amend the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. Those who are in favor will please say A. Those who are against will please say no. I think the ayes have it, ayes have it, ayes have it. Leave is granted.
Madam, I introduce the bill.
Now, the House will take up consideration of Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022. Minister, please.
Madam Speaker, the energy scenario in the world has changed tremendously during the last decade. One of the major reasons for this change is environmental challenges. So, all the countries of the world collectively decided that we have to take action to check global warming. As a result, a movement towards renewable energy started. Under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, India has also committed that by the year 2030, we will generate 40% of energy from clean sources. We have achieved this target almost 9 years before the target date. That is in November 2021. To become self-reliant in the energy sector, we also need to make energy transitions. The Prime Minister launched the Green Hydrogen Mission and the Green Ammonia Mission on the 15th of August last year. We can gradually replace fossil fuel whenever it is required. Similarly, we are moving towards electric vehicle mobility. As of now, our demand for electricity is increasing. One of the reasons for this is that the economy is growing at the rate of 8%. Another reason is that we have connected every village with electricity. About 24.8% to 29.8% of the electricity we have consumed in the last few months was generated from renewable energy sources. In view of all this, we have proposed amendments in the Energy Consumption Act. One of the provisions in this bill is that the inputs which are based on fossil fuel, we will gradually replace them with indigenous green inputs. A provision in the bill is to reduce our import dependency. The second provision is that we are bringing a carbon market. This means one who saves more gets carbon credit and the one who is not able to save has to pay a penalty. We are also modifying green buildings to be sustainable ones. We will fix the standards of being green and the state government can modify these standards. With these words, I now move that the Energy Conservation Amendment Bill of 2022 be taken into consideration.
Motion moved. Sri Manu.
Madam, the Energy Conservation Act of 2001 was last amended in the year 2010, around 12 years ago. I am sure that India will achieve 50% of its energy needs through renewable energy by the year 2030 and net zero by the year 2070. These proposed amendments will go a long way in the development of the carbon market in India. It is also proposed to amend penal provisions to ensure better compliance with the provisions of this act. It is also important for us to take into consideration pragmatic and operational steps like effective evacuation, grid connectivity of renewable energy, and ensuring viability of various renewable energy projects. I support the proposed amendments to the Energy Conservation Act.
Opposition leader, please.
Madam Speaker, it was Hillary Clinton who once said, if I want to knock a story off the front page of the newspaper, I just change my hairstyle. And for this present government, to get their story in the newspaper, they just change their bills. If the Minister of New and Renewable Energy still chooses to call this bunch of papers a bill or an amendment to a bill, it is like either saying that I am stupid or the minister has forgotten to gloss over what the definition of an amendment is while she was glossing through the dictionary. Even though we realize how important state governments are in the promotion of renewable energy, we forget to mention, or these bills forget to mention, nothing about their rights in specifying the carbon credit certificate. The original act, let me mention you, the original act which had a clause that no person is liable to pay a penalty for the next 5 years is completely missing in this version. Minister also mentioned that the standards being met, but still forgets to mention who keeps a check on these standards. In the absence of a government entity, private entities take over. And I'm sure that private entities have opposite intentions of a public entity, and it will always lead to peril of the public. What about the production of solar panels? Madam Speaker, 80% of the solar panels that we use in India today are produced in China. No aspect of that can be called domestic. I'm sure that no country has depended so much on another country for exports since the British left India in 1947. This bill and the faults it carries are disastrous in ensuring the carbon credits and for the environment as a whole. And if the members of the House still choose to go ahead with the bill, I would like to inform the Speaker that after I leave politics, I would like to start a spine renting business in front of the Parliament. I'm sure business बहुत अच्छा चलेगा. Thank you.
Minister Eben, please.
As we know that India is the largest exporter of carbon credits. Therefore, it makes obvious sense that we set up our own national market and frame necessary regulations for it. And this amendment seeks to mandate the use of non-fossil sources, including green hydrogen, green ammonia, biomass, and ethanol for energy and feedstock. There is a need for incentivizing actions for emission reduction, leading to an increased investment in clean energy and energy efficiency areas. This amendment will be seen as a positive step in that direction. The proposal is expected to increase the cost to 2-3%, but it can be reduced within 4 to 5 years through reduced bills. I welcome the move to empower the State Electricity Regulatory Commission to make regulations for the smooth discharge of its functions. Tamil Nadu is exploring avenues and opportunities to develop our renewable energy infrastructure. I sincerely hope that the Union government will strengthen our efforts and support us in this regard.
Srimati Leina.
I stand in support of the Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022. This bill aims to promote energy conservation. It puts an end to pollution and is also an extension of the polluter pays principle. It combines all the three responses that we must adopt, that is, the use of market forces, regulatory framework, and most importantly, extra focus on renewable energy. Whatever is being done today is done a little late, as this use of market framework started much before in rest of the world. We must encourage the use of renewable energy so that we can have less and fewer emissions.
Srimati Anaka.
This bill mainly promotes the uses of non-fossil fuels and discourages the uses of fossil fuels. This bill proposed the given carbon emission certificate, which we appreciate. But there are some gray areas where we have to be focused on. The construction of green buildings is such. The investment required is very high. The Bureau of Energy Conservation has been underutilized the fund by around 50% in the last 2 years. This has been taken very seriously. The government has reduced the budget for the Solar Energy Corporation from the rupees 18 crores last year to 1,000 crores this year. At the same time, around 60% subsidy on the solar panel is being reduced by the government. And the GST on it is being increased from 5 to 12%. What is the justification? The import duty for the solar panel has been increased. Why the government is not promoting electric vehicle to be manufactured by the government PSUs? Around 7 Maharatna companies has been invested 11 times more in fossil fuel energy. Why they cannot invest it in green energy? The government has to clarify these things, and I strongly oppose to this bill.
Mr. Lishan, please.
This bill is ambiguous, vague and unclear. The intent of this legislation is not manifest in this bill. None of us in this house will oppose a basic concept of energy conservation. We all know the importance of energy conservation. I do support the provisions like mandating the use of non-fossil energy sources, bringing large residential buildings into energy conservation regime, and strengthening the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Carbon trading is a new concept introduced into this bill. I apprehend that this amendment bill has been solely brought to bring in this concept of carbon trading. But there is no clear, specific carbon credit scheme that is specified in this. The Parliament has the authority to know what is a specific carbon credit scheme. It is very important to know the distinction between trade between countries and trade within the country. I urge the Government of India to use the UN forums to argue for carbon reduction. Please remove the shortcuts for carbon trading. So, subject to strong reservation on carbon credit scheme, I support the other provisions of this bill.
Mr. Lijin, please.
There are a lot of
doubts and concern about the carbon market and carbon trading here. So it will probably be better the government refers this bill to the standing committee. The companies that can do the carbon trading in a better way should be given incentives, and we have to provide for strictly penalty in this legislation for those companies who are misused it. The power sector transfer the burden to this emission to the consumers. We have to save poor people and farmers from it. The revenue earned from emission trading can be used to help poor farmers and peoples. Tidal energy is huge in the form of renewable energy. I would like to request that there should be an emphasis on research and development in this regard. I would like to request the government to set up a technology in the northeast that to renewable energy can be generated there also.
Minister of New and Renewable Energy, please.
Madam Speaker, I am grateful to all the members who have supported the bill and to those who have given their constructive criticism on it. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the advice that has been given to us. A majority of the speakers have supported the bill. In the power sector, there are many things which we can be proud of as a country. We connected every village in just about 987 days, even though the Honorable Prime Minister had given us a target of 1,000 days. At that time, the International Energy Agency came out with a tweet saying that this was the best news in the energy sector in 2018. We connected 28.6 million homes back then. Now the figure stands at 28.8 million homes. The International Energy Agency said that it was the largest expansion of access in the shortest time frame ever in the history of the power sector. We have done this as a country. In one stroke, we connected every village, every home. We converted our country from power deficit to power surplus. Today, we have about 400,000 megawatts of installed capacity. We connected the whole country to one single grid, converting our grid into the largest grid in the world. All of us should be proud of it and definitely should have the spines to accept it. As far as the reduction in the emission of carbon dioxide is concerned, we have achieved our target before time, and that is why we have enhanced our targets for 2030. We shall achieve those too. One question, of course, was how we reduce the pledge which was made by the Honorable Prime Minister in Glasgow. The Honorable Prime Minister had made a pledge that by the year 2030, we shall install 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity, and we stand by that. We had said that we would achieve the target of acquiring the capacity of generating 40% of our energy from non-fossil fuels by the year 2030, which we achieved in November 2021 itself. Now we have enhanced this 40% to 50%. So our progress in renewable energy and energy transition is something to be proud of. We believe in energy conservation and the environment. That is why we are doing this. This set of amendments will take that forward. This is our golden opportunity to change from being a net importer of energy to being a net exporter of energy. We can emerge as the global supplier of green hydrogen and green ammonia, and that is going to be the future. Our objective is twofold. One is that we shall green our industry, that is for the environment, and also to remove our dependence on imported sources, so that we can stand upright on our own. We shall make green ammonia here, from the sun, our solar energy, and our own wind energy. This is the way in which we are going to be world leaders. These amendments would facilitate that. That is why we have put an enabling provision in the amendment that we will prescribe the replacement of imported fossil fuel sources by renewable sources or non-fossil fuel sources made in India. That is why we have provided for the carbon market. I will tell you why carbon credits are not going to be exported. It is because of the commitments we have made in the Conference of Parties 21 and the Conference of Parties 26 about our nationally determined contributions. So, as long as we do not meet those commitments, we shall not allow any export of carbon credits. Those carbon credits will have to be generated and bought by domestic industries. There is also some discussion about bringing residential buildings into the purview of this act. But we are only bringing in large residential buildings which have a connected load of more than 100 kilowatts. Only those buildings will be mandated to become green buildings and sustainable ones. All the implementation is done by the designated agency of the state. Now, the bill also provides for the allocation of finances and resources to the designated agencies. By and large, this bill has been welcomed by everyone. I would recommend it to the House that the bill may be passed.
The question is that the Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022 be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor will please say A. A. Those who are against will please say no. No. I think the A's have it, A's have it, A's have it. The motion is adopted. Now, the question is that clause 2 to 10 stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will please say A. A. Those who are against will please say no. No. I think the A's have it, A's have it, A's have it. The motion is adopted. Clause 2 to 10 stand part of the bill. Minister for New and Renewable Energy, please.
Madam, I move the bill be passed.
Motion moved that the bill is passed. Those who are in favor will please say A. A. Those who are against will please say no. I think the A's have it, A's have it, A's have it. The motion is adopted. Now, the House will take up the private member's resolution. Sri Rohan is requested to move the resolution.
Madam, this House recommends that the government must take steps to effectively combat the issue of rampant corruption in our country, which threatens to degrade the very dignity of our nation worldwide. India is ranked 85th among 180 countries in the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index 2021, which is something I consider is truly pathetic for a country such as India. According to that report, even our neighboring countries such as Bhutan and China stay on a much higher rank than India. There are also concerns about India's democratic status, fundamental freedoms, and institutional checks and balances decay. So I suggest
I'm sorry to interrupt you, respected member. We are running out of time. So I will just move on to the clarifications. Leader of the House, please.
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the respected member for taking up the perennial issue of corruption to the notice of the House. The government is highly committed to eliminate corrupt practices from the society. We are ready to revamp and restructure the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. It's already in the pipeline. A high-level committee has been constituted for that matter. Preventing corruption need more stringent and combined efforts from both the government and the public.
the government will ensure that the evil of corruption will completely be eliminated in the near future. Madam, through you, I request the honorable member to withdraw the resolution.
Sri Rohan, please.
Madam, I am grateful to the honourable member for lending support to my resolution. In view of the assurance given by the honourable minister, and since a law has already been enacted to deal with the issue of corruption, I hope that the government will take all stringent measures to eliminate this problem. Therefore, I may be allowed to withdraw my resolution.
Has the honorable member leave of the House to withdraw his resolution? The resolution by leave of the House is withdrawn. Now, the House is adjourned to meet again tomorrow at 11 a.m.